Welcome to Inner Songwriting Theory. Today we're going to be looking at writing in sevens. I recommend a basic understanding of rhythms in 4/4 and 3/4 before we begin. If you don't have that, you can watch anyway and always catch up later. Understanding rhythms in 7 gives you access to rarely heard sounds in modern pop music. If you continue studying them, they can even become part of your unique style. Although they're not as common as 4s and 3s, rhythms in 7 have given us some very groovy pieces by the Beatles, Foo Fighters, even Wonder Woman, apparently. I'll give some more examples later. For now, let's find out what 7s are. 7 is a number. It comes after 6. When I say 7s, I'm referring to a series of time signatures, each of which features 7 beats. 7/4, 7/8, 7/16, 7/32 and beyond, with the most common being 7/4 and 7/8. 7 falls into the category of odd time. Odd time opposes itself to simple time and compound time. While simple time often refers to signatures where the beats divide into 2 and compound into 3, odd time refers to time signatures with a mix of uneven beats that divide into both 2 and 3. When we're listening to and playing in 7s, only the top number of the time signature matters. There are so many great songs written partly or entirely in 7s. Here's a list you can start with. If you have more examples, please comment below. As you can see, there are some very well-known mainstream artists from many eras and genres, including Vance Joy, Foo Fighters, even Cat Stevens and the Beatles were up to no good. Certain genres of music make much use of odd time, such as progressive rock, classical and modern jazz. The traditional folk music of Southeastern Europe, Greece and Turkey, amongst others, feature many songs and dances in 7. 7s are also very popular in the soundtracks of Hollywood films. It would be a great idea to get listening and familiarize yourself with the concept. Let's learn to count 7s before we play them. Because odd rhythms feature uneven phrases of 2 and 3, they're a little more difficult to count than your usual rhythms in 4/4 and 3/4. But if you know how to count to 2 and 3, you're already there. 7 can be broken down into groupings of 2 2s and 1 3 in a handful of orders. Let's take 2 2 3 and count it out loud. Remember that every beat needs to be evenly counted. Let's go slow to begin. 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 1 2 3. And fast. 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 1 2 3. This isn't easy, so take your time and repeat it by yourself. Notice how I clap my hands on the one of each phrase. I also emphasize the first beat with my voice. All of these details help my body and mind embrace the rhythm. I want to feel 7 deep inside me.
What a dirty
Feeling the rhythm and internalizing it is the only way to use these concepts effectively. Try and apply the same techniques to this next grouping. 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2. The great news is that rhythm is independent of your instrument. You can practice this anywhere. Count the rhythm in your head or out loud. Make a physical connection by clapping, clicking, or tapping your foot or hand. I can't stress the importance of feeling the rhythm. If you can't feel it, you can't write it. At least not well. You might wonder why I'm using just 2s and 3s. We could count 7 as 6 and 1, 5 and 2, or 3 and 4. We could even count 7 in 1. But that's a lot of beats to count, especially while we're playing music. 2s and 3s are some of the simplest groupings we can have. It's also worth remembering that 5 can be counted as a 3 and a 2. 4 can be viewed as 2 sets of 2. Why make something harder than it needs to be? Let's start playing. Let's look at how we can manifest these rhythms on an instrument. What do I mean by manifest? Rhythm is separate from our instrument, but we convey those rhythms through how we play. We can strum a rhythm on a guitar, or we could fingerpick it. On a piano, am I going to play block chords, or am I going to play arpeggios? Let's play some rhythms grouped as 2 2 3. Here's a finger picking pattern on the guitar with some basic chords. Try and count 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 over the top and you'll hear the thought process and the divisions very clearly. How about on a keyboard instead? Notice my consistency in terms of fingering on both examples. If I keep changing my fingering while playing odd time, chances are I'm going to confuse myself. It's very common to be put off of odd time this way. Don't make it more difficult for yourself. Choose which fingers are going to be used each time. That way there's much less to think about. Remember, we're manifesting a rhythm through movement. We must practice both the rhythm and the movement. Let's try a strumming pattern with a slight difference. Again, look at the consistency. I am choosing where to place my downstrokes and upstrokes. Notice how this time I played one strum for each group of 2. We don't have to highlight every beat when we play in 7s. In this case, I felt like one strum could cover each of our groupings of 2. Let's try a simple riff using a similar rhythm. Just like before, I highlight the one of each group of 2, but now I only play the first and third note in our group of 3. I also managed to sneak in a grouping of 3-2-2 in the final bar as opposed to 2-2-3. When you get to grips with these rhythms, you can combine them however which way you want. Let's slow things right down. If the last set of rhythms were considered to be 7-8, the next lot could be considered to be 7-4. Any time signature can be played at any tempo and grouped in any way. As long as the top number is the same, they can convey the exact same rhythms. The only time this isn't true is when sheet music is involved, or when there's a change of time signature. But that's a separate lesson if you ask me. For the sake of ease, let's think of these as 7-4. Instead of 7 quick even beats, we're going to use 7 long even beats. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Again, we can divide this down and think of it as a bar of 3-4 followed by a bar of 4-4 and vice versa. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. The fact that we're counting slower means we can now count larger groupings more easily. Thinking in 4-4 and 3-4 means we can draw on things we already know. I could play a strumming pattern in 3-4 which looks like this and sounds like this. And follow it with a strumming pattern in 4-4 which looks like this and sounds like this. Let's add some simple chord changes that highlight the rhythm. All I'm doing is switching between my 2 rhythms with my chord changes. How about a similar 3-4 plus 4-4 idea using fingerpicking? Try and combine your own 3-4 and 4-4 rhythms however you like. I'm not going to go into too much detail here. If you're ready for 7-4, you already know your 3s and 4s. But for good measure, let's swap it around. Let's try 4-4 followed by 3-4 instead. I hope this demonstrates that odd time crosses genres and styles. Next, let's find out the best ways to learn 7s. There are many active and passive ways to absorb 7s. The aim is to reach a point where you no longer have to think. Immerse yourself and 7s will flow out of you. Number 1. Listen to music in 7s. Go back through the examples I gave you earlier or discover your own music in 7s. Try and identify the groupings and patterns while you listen. Number 2. Learn songs in 7. Once you've listened to them, get busy learning. The best way to absorb a rhythm is to learn songs that use it. 4/4 feels natural because the majority of songs we learn are already in 4/4. Learn as much as you can and play along. Number 3, write in 7s. Hopefully this is the reason you're here. I have a handful of writing tips waiting for you at the end of this video. Number 4, write out the concept. Don't be afraid to write out the concept or even notate it in a way that you understand. You can even identify groupings and plan rhythms before you learn them. Number 5, isolate the rhythm. You can practice counting rhythms wherever you want. As long as you can count, feel free to clap, click, or tap along. You can do this on the way to work, at your school desk,
On the toilet.
wherever you are. Number 6, practice in 7s. Do your usual practice routine in 7s. If you can get hold of a metronome that deals with 7s, even better. How about practicing the pentatonic scale grouped into phrases of 7? Already sounds like a solo to me. It's also useful to remember that our major scale and its modes have 7 notes each. Perfect for practicing 7s. Keep it slow to begin and gradually speed it up. Odd time can appear difficult and clunky to write in. In my opinion, the best songs in odd time don't sound like odd time whatsoever. They sneak past you as smoothly as 4/4 and 3/4. Smoothness is your goal. Let's see how we can achieve that. Keep it simple. You're already trying something very complex. Don't complicate it further by loading it with key changes, borrowed chords, unusual modes. Unless you want to. Does sound pretty wicked actually. You can do whatever you like, but when you're first starting out, simplicity is key. Emphasize the rhythm. Try to highlight those groupings or certain beats. You could do this by changing chords on the beats you want to highlight, spacing out your lyrics to synchronize with the music, maybe use percussion to syncopate your rhythm. Emphasizing the rhythm will suggest confidence and guide the listener's ear where you want it to go. Repetition. Repetition normalizes what we hear. You can make the unnatural become natural. Another advantage is that odd time repeated becomes even. Maybe instead of playing 2 7s, you can think of it as 7 2s. Are 21 beats 3 7s or 7 3s? Okay, 21 is an odd number still. But my point is that 2s and 3s are easier than 7s. And if you didn't get that by now after all this time... Vocals have rhythm too. Singing over odd time isn't easy. But remember, we can break down the rhythm the same way we do with music. Maybe clap a rhythm first and then manifest it using your lyrics. Here's a simple rhythm I can vocalize and repeat over an earlier example in 7/8. First, I'll clap it, then sing it melodically. Da da down da da down da da down da da down. Replace the la da das with lyrics and you have your song. The more you practice, the freer you will be. Singing is a physical thing. If you can feel the rhythm, you can sing it too. Metric modulation. If 7s are becoming repetitive and difficult, why not have a bridge in 4/4? Maybe an entire verse. Many of the songs I mentioned feature sections in 4/4 before switching back to 7/4. I could talk about 7s forever, but let's finish here. As per usual, I've got a challenge for you. Write your own music using 7s. Riffs, vocals, chords, use whatever you like. Experiment to your heart's content, and remember you can rewatch this video as many times as you like. Don't be afraid to write things down. Feel free to comment your own writing tips, your examples in 7, your own music in 7, whatever you like. Don't forget to subscribe and stay tuned for more lessons on songwriting and music theory. Thank you for watching Inner Songwriting Theory.